This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. We are live, and it is Thursday, October 24th. So to get your Halloween candy soon. I want to start off the show by sort of explaining what's been going on, because I got a lot of email from people asking about Claire and why she had to go to the hospital and everything. And these are things normally we don't talk about, but a lot of people were asking. Basically what happened is on Tuesday, Claire had surgery on her left eye to remove a cataract and replace it with a glass lens. And yesterday was the follow-up. And probably around the 1st of December, they're going to do the right eye. And already Claire is just so excited and enthusiastic over really being able to see clearly out of that left eye now. And to be honest, I hadn't realized, what difficulties you were having with the vision. They were pretty grim. So she's been dealing with this for a while. So we're going to get her eyes fixed, and then we're going to put her through driving school because she hasn't been behind the wheel of a car in a lot of years. And so the news is all good, and I apologize for the best ofs, but Claire is still unable to drive. And it's not that she was ever a bad driver, but especially with our newer car, it's got so many buttons. And it's going to take a while. I bring in the instruction manual and hand it to Claire, but she's never been very good about reading manuals. So we'll get into that. Anyway, so welcome to the show. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, opinions, and observations here. Now, once again, Vladimir Putin has shown that he is a global statesman, and he went over to Turkey and he struck a deal with them. They have halted their incursion into Syria. They still claim that the Kurds are taking potshots at him, but as of right now, the Syrian conflict appears to be over. Trump is trying to take credit for it, saying it was all originally our idea, and Putin's just there to upstage us. But the Russian troops have entered the Syria-Turkey border zone. Meanwhile, Russia is accusing the United States government of continuing to try and fuel Kurdish separatism, which is a common destabilization tactic the U.S. has used in the past. With the Russia joint patrols now underway, Turkey is rethinking the observation posts in Syria. They may tear them down because they don't need them anymore. So this is all calmed down. Putin, once again, has shown that he is a statesman. And as I said before, Trump is trying to take credit for it. And he's also saying that the United States maintains responsibility for protecting Syria's oil, and that there will be a small force of U.S. service people, troops, to guard the oil fields. They're keeping control of the oil. They want to control what currency it's sold in, and that's a big part of what this war was all about anyway. Now, we heard late last week that the troops that were getting out of Syria were not coming home. They were being redeployed to Iraq to fight ISIS. And Iraq's government has other ideas. They're saying, no, you're not welcome here. Go home. Take your soldiers, go home. Go back to the United States of America. And the Iraqi defense minister has set a deadline saying that U.S. troops, all U.S. troops have just 4 weeks to leave Iraq. So let's see. We've pretty much lost in Afghanistan. We've pretty much lost in Syria. Now we're getting kicked out of Iraq. I would say this war of global domination is not going very well for the warmongers. Of course, they don't really care because it's all about the money. Your money going into the defense contractors and buying bombs and bullets and aircraft carriers that break the planes they try and launch, and a stealth destroyer that really isn't all that stealthy, a stealth fighter jet that can't win a dogfight, another stealth jet which turned out not to be all that stealthy, that asphyxiates its pilots. But as long as the money is flowing, everything's wonderful. And if you're opposed to trying to have more wars, then you must be a Russian asset. Now, there's a story that came on out from Blacklisted News, and it was commenting on something I commented on last week about how we're just seeing all this civic unrest all around the world. And this article is basically saying what's going on here are all these countries, they're fed up with, U.S. sponsored governments, U.S. backed governments, and they want them out. And so we're seeing, riots in Chile and Ecuador and a bunch of other places as well. And yeah, we're an empire in decline. And the more they succeed, the more other countries are going to step on in and say, well, yeah, let's kick these people out. Let's run our own country. It's our country. Let's run it. Maybe we'll do a good job. Maybe we won't, but at least it'll be our decisions, not some U.S. corporation here. Now, apparently over in Africa, there is still this debate, if you will, over what's called the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD for short. And apparently the Ethiopian Prime Minister made some remarks about the willingness for Ethiopia to go to war over maintaining control of the dam. And Egypt is saying that this is totally unacceptable behavior. Now, remember, we're talking about a dam here. It's not like they could back up a truck in a crane and take it someplace else. The issue is control here. Meanwhile, Russia has deployed the S-400 air defense system to Serbia for its first ever drill abroad. They had plenty of drills inside Russia. They've tested it out there. Now it's going out in the field. And basically Russia is showing off their new war toys. Anyway, further up in the ante, of course, the U.S. ran a B-52 simulation of a bombing run near Russia's Kaliningrad, which is, seems to be intended to inflame Russian sentiment here. But there's been, again, back in Africa, there's this Afro-Russian Forum. It's a turning point in relations between Africa and Russia. See, what's going on here is the U.S. as an empire is collapsing, and Russia is basically stepping in to fill the power vacuum, the void. So this chapter of American history is basically ending with the end of U.S. interference in other countries. And I remember all the way back when they started talking globalism and the need for intervention, and that ridiculous statement by George W. Bush that it was only American interventionism that kept the world at peace. Well, the U.S. is no longer intervening in places like Syria, and all of a sudden peace breaks out. So Russia is now down there in Africa. Africa is turning toward the Russian sphere of influence. So I would say that from a foreign policy perspective, the U.S. government kind of botched this one. They really, really, really did. Paul Craig Roberts has an article out on his website better relations between the U.S. and Russia are not in the cards. And he mentions, this belligerent tone that we have in American media and American politicians, and again, if you don't want to bomb Russia into the Stone Age, you must be a Russian asset. And nobody wants to wear that label because it's being treated as this horrible, horrible negative. You're a peacemonger. I keep thinking about that speech by General Patton, which was duplicated at the opening of the movie starring George C. Scott. He's out there saying, Americans love war. We love the sting of battle. It just goes on with that idea here. All right, over in Germany, they're enacting a new 6-point plan to combat anti-Semitism. This was in response to a recent attack in Halle, in which no Jews were even hurt, let alone killed. They want harsher punishments for saying anything the Jews don't like. Talk about a return to the days of the Nazi Party and dictatorships. Somebody ran a poll here and found that more than 70% of the American people reject anti-BDS laws, and primarily on the grounds that it is clearly an infringement on the constitutional right to freedom of speech. It is. And I think probably most Americans, like yours truly, are appalled that our representatives in Congress, who are supposed to be there to represent us, the American people, are willing to literally throw the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, into the shredder to placate Tel Aviv. That should be a source of shame for everybody. All right, turning to our domestic news here. Apparently, the New York Times stealth edited a story to change Hillary Clinton's claim that Tulsi Gabbard was being groomed by Russia because of the pushback on that. And they changed the story to make it look like Clinton had said the Republicans were grooming Gabbard for the third-party run to split the vote. So the media has learned absolutely nothing. Okay, and they've learned, they're still up to their games. They're doing what they're told to do. You will deceive the American people. We can't allow Hillary to look bad because she might run for president. According to Fox News, Hillary Clinton is mulling a 2020 run, citing the weak Democratic field. She's correct on that one. She's claiming she's been vindicated on the email issue, which she has not. Not being charged, not being indicted is not the same thing as being vindicated. Now, campus reform visited George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and interviewed the students about a possible Hillary campaign next year. And the vast majority of the students that were interviewed said they absolutely would not support another Clinton bid for president. And they had some pretty interesting responses to the question. Just associating with her in general as a party is probably going to be a bit toxic for the Democrats' brand. Go home, retire. Another student said she kind of had her shot in 2016, and I'm kind of tired of hearing about her. I'll certainly second that one here. Another student said, I think her time is coming past, and there's other people more qualified, especially since she lost 2 campaigns in a row. And another comment, if the Democrats want to beat Trump, I don't think it would be wise for her to run. And others said she's not really politically relevant anymore. So the demographics are not with a Hillary run. But Philip Reins, who was a former top aide to Hillary Clinton, says that she hasn't ruled it out yet, that she's still considering it. I think she's already decided to run. She's just waiting for a good time to make the announcement. Probably looking for some kind of a hook. Get the American people excited about her. Look on that one here. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, in one of his recent speeches, made a comment about Sandy Hook and how he went down there and met with every one of the parents supposedly lost a child at Sandy Hook. But J.T. Lewis, whose brother Jesse was killed in the attack, just said, no, that's a lie. Obama came to Sandy Hook and met with every family. Joe Biden did not. Biden is actually self-destructing up there every time he tells another one of these lies here. Meanwhile, Ohio Representative Tim Ryan has officially ended his bid for the Democratic presidential nomination. This brings the number of candidates still in the race for the primaries down to 18. And I'm sure we're going to start losing a lot more very soon. The money just isn't there. The support isn't there. Now, the big news that happened is that, as you know, Adam Schiff has been holding these closed-door meetings in a locked room in the Capitol building where supposedly testimony is being given that will lead to the impeachment of the president. They're being given his deposition, so there's transcripts which can be selectively edited and released. And GOP lawmakers just finally got fed up, and they basically stormed the secure impeachment hearing room. And Adam Schiff ran away, gavelled the meeting to a close, ran away. One of the things that came out of that expose, the so-called damning Taylor testimony about the Trump quid pro quo, is 100% hearsay. Be inadmissible in a court of law, let alone Congress. All right, turning to the economic news here, the Twitter shares plunge. And partly it's because of problems they're having with their advertising software and the fact that they're losing users. And I think the reason Twitter is losing users is because of all the bile, the insults that are going on, the trolling that's going on. It's no longer fun to use. It's no longer fun to read. And yeah, the ads are a bit oppressive. There's way too many of them. And I understand Twitter's got to make money. They've got to generate revenue. But at some point, you have to know when you're alienating your own audience. Now, I've spent a good part of my life working in television. And I remember when I was a kid, there were limits on how much advertising you would see on your TV shows. There literally were legal limits. There were even legal limits on how limited the volume could be, because TV networks and advertisers, will play the show at a certain soft level. Then they'll goose the volume on the ads to wake you up and get your attention, get you to look, because that's what they're in the business of doing. Then along came cable, and in exchange for that monthly stipend, you'd be commercial free. That's how HBO actually got launched. It's a commercial-free channel. Now, look at cable TV today. You're still paying for the cable service. And boy, there's just a ton of commercials. I love the DVR. I don't watch live TV anymore. I'll record it on the DVR so I can fast forward over the commercials. And so I think Twitter basically oversold on that. And it's turning people off. We don't use social media to be preached at or indoctrinated or constant ads for things we have absolutely no interest in. Anyway, we got to take a break here for commercials. Sorry about that after that last rant. And we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha America, welcome back to our show here.
Children alike.
And Dave over at RBN texted a comment saying, I'm surprised they haven't outlawed DVRs or at least make it where we can't fast forward the commercials. Well, in point of fact, they've already done that second one. And I have not seen it here with our new provider, but when we were still living in Hawaii, we had Spectrum. And on the DVRs for certain programming, and I imagine a fee was charged for this, fast forwarding would be disabled. So you will watch the commercials. Those commercials, that's what TV's in the business of selling. They're not in the business of entertainment. They're in the business of rounding up as many minds as they can, put them into a receptive trance, and offer them up to the advertisers. That's how they make their money. Now, years ago, when VHS was still a standard, we had 1 year, there was a company, I think it was RCA, came out with a VCR where when it recorded the show, It would mark where the commercials were by tracking the VITSI signal. And then when you played the tape back, it would automatically fast forward over the commercials. But they only made it that 1 year, and I imagine there's tremendous amount of industry pressure. You know, those commercials are our lifeblood. Well, again, I get ads all the time for stuff I would never possibly be interested in. So I'm sure that ad agencies are making money somewhere. They're not behaving very well. And I say that as somebody who worked in advertising for a good part of my early career. Anyway, getting on back to the economic news, apparently Deutsche Bank is really in trouble. They're continuing the layoffs and trying to stay afloat. A lot of people are very, very concerned. If Deutsche Bank goes down, it's probably going to take much of Europe with it. Now, over in Saudi Arabia, they're having another one of these investment initiatives. And this is one, you know, a year ago after the Khashoggi murder, a lot of people said, no, we can't do this. You know, we can't be seen with. This year, it's not an issue. All is forgiven. Wall Street is flocking to Saudi Arabia to invest money. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about Julian Assange and the way he's being treated. And of course, the way he's being treated is that they're trying to make an example out of him. And former British Ambassador Craig Murray published an account of Julian Assange's court appearance. And basically, it was like a Soviet show trial. But apparently he was shocked by just how much weight Julian has lost, by the speed his hair has receded, and by the appearance of premature and vastly accelerated aging. So he's clearly being mistreated while he's in his cell. John Pilger describes the disgraceful courtroom treatment of Julian Assange as a 1950s show trial. And he's just blasted the atrocious and appalling treatment of Assange by a judge who decided this week to reject the whistleblower's request to delay his upcoming U.S. extradition hearing. Pilger says to say it is surreal is not enough. It is simply appalling. He too made the association with the Soviet show trials of the 1950s, or Prague. You know, the end is preordained. Just going to go through the motions and say, yep, you're guilty. All righty. Getting on back to the economic news. I had this one in the wrong location in the talking points. Apparently, the Federal Reserve is going to increase liquidity available to markets. Now, all last week and the week before, we've been hearing about how major U.S. banks are having to basically do a lot of heavy borrowing right now to cover what's called the repo market, where they've accepted certain assets as collateral on loans that have defaulted, and now they can't unload the collateral sitting on their books, and they're in trouble. And there's already talk about more bailouts, except they're not going to be called bailouts or quantitative easing. It is reserve management. So Elizabeth Warren has called on Mnuchin to explain what's going on. Well, Liz, the system is collapsing. That's what's going on. They're trying everything they can think of to at least make it look like the system is working. Okay, now there's a company out there called Gaggle. Another break. All right, we'll be right back after these few words.
Oh, yeah.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And as most of you are already aware, we are in a period of surveillance, constant. Cameras everywhere, microphones everywhere, your phone spies on you. And there's this company called Gaggle, and they sell surveillance software to school districts to monitor kids' click and keystroke on the school networks. They originally started selling their products saying they'd stop kids from seeing porn. Then they promised they could end bullying, and now advertise themselves as a solution for school shootings under the banner of being a safety management platform. Now, they're not the only one out there. There's Securely and GoGuardian, and apparently this is a booming business. You know, schools are buying this spyware to spy on their students. Here's where it gets ugly. Gaggle is now offering to stick the same system on the school staff, the teachers. Look for disgruntled educators, or especially any talk of a strike, to be able to sabotage it before it even gets going. Now, Google, according to some of their former employees, is also using an internal surveillance tool to monitor unhappy workers, guard against labor organizing. That's a little creepy. I remember that movie that came on out, The Internship, that was shot on the Google campus, and it made Google look like just the best place in the world to work. Yeah, boy, wouldn't it be fun to work there? But no, I don't think so. The magic has gone out of Google. They're out of goo. What can I tell you here? Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified before the House Financial Services Committee in the Rayburn office building on Capitol Hill just yesterday. And he was grilled about Facebook's proposed cryptocurrency, Libra, how his company will handle false and misleading information by political leaders during the 2020 campaign, and how it handles its users' data and privacy. So House Democrats challenged Zuckerberg on a number of issues, focusing primarily on the effort to form a cryptocurrency. And I think we're going to see a lot more attacks on cryptocurrencies in general, because the only way the Federal Reserve banking system can even hope to survive, they have to be in control of the currency. Can't go back to the good old days where you made money, you put it in your pocket, it was yours, it was under your control, you could spend it where you wanted to go. Now they're working toward a system where all your money belong to us, and you use the plastic cards to move it around, which is, again, another way you're being spied on here. Now, Google is claiming quantum supremacy, is the buzzword, but basically they built a quantum computer called Sycamore. It has 54 qubits, and they said they were able to perform a calculation in 200 seconds that would have taken the world's most powerful conventional supercomputer 10,000 years. Now, IBM, the company that owns the computer that Google claims they beat, and a key competitor in quantum computing, came on back and said, really, it would have taken our conventional computer just 2.5 days, not 10,000 years. Google is exaggerating out here. And IBM says that Google failed to fully account for plentiful disk storage when estimating how long the traditional supercomputer would take to perform the calculation. So already they're out there pointing fingers at each other and saying, my qubits are faster than your qubits. And it sounds amazing until you recall that quantum computing has a very narrow range of applications. It does have serious limits. At most real-world computer calculations, the granularity doesn't fit in with the quantum architecture. But it's the latest buzzword, and everybody's rushing to buy a quantum computer. Which reminds me, there was one company I briefly worked for in Hollywood had bought themselves a connection machine made by the Thinking Machines company, which sadly is no longer in business. And it was an amazing box. 256 processors and lights flashing all over it, but it couldn't ray trace. It was spending all of its time just moving the data around. But he kept it. It was literally in a display room in the lobby. Our supercomputer. Digital Productions, which made like The Last Starfighter. Bought a Cray. We have a Cray supercomputer, and that was a mistake for two reasons. First of all, the Crays could not run the Unix operating system or use the C programming language, so all the software had to be rewritten in Fortran. And the second big mistake was Digital Productions ran everything through that Cray. So when that Cray broke down, which it did do, everybody got to go home. Speaking of computers here, and over at Microsoft, I guess they've just quit trying to make a new product, and they've announced that Windows 10 is the last Windows operating system, and new versions will simply be feature updates. For a small monthly fee, what can I tell you? Apparently over at Amazon, their web services DNS system was hit by a massive cyber attack, DDoS. And let's see, at the time of the writing of this article, they're still under attack. It will hamper any connections to Amazon services that rely on external DNS queries, such as the Amazon Relational Database Service, Simple Queue Service, CloudFront, Elastic Compute Cloud. Now, we got into Amazon this morning, apparently before this really got underway. So, and this one's going to be a little scary. This is from the Daily Mail out in Great Britain, where companies, big name companies, are starting to hire a system called HireVue. And what HireVue does is it sits into your job interview and evaluates you based on your speech and your choice of words and your facial movements. Now, a lot of people are already critical of this technology, saying that people are going to be hired or fired based on the bias written into the AI by the programmers. And I think this is one of those situations where I don't think a computer was really necessary or justified. Okay. Our country is going crazy, and I don't know if it's because of all the pressure we're being put under, or if it's something in the food or the drugs, but people are just getting crazy. Apparently, over in Livingston Parish, a high-level deputy sheriff who commanded the SWAT team at one point has been arrested this week along with his wife for multiple counts of child rape and the production of child pornography. And apparently they were arrested after a month-long criminal probe headed up by the Louisiana Attorney General's office. And after the arrest, footage of the alleged child rapist was posted to Twitter, showing him being led to prison in shackles. This guy is supposed to be a police officer, deputy sheriff. And apparently his wife, Cynthia, went along with all of this, thought it was perfectly okay. My question here is, where were the parents? We hear about all these horrible things that are being done to these kids, and where are the parents? Are they being paid for the use of their child? Are things that bad in our economy where everything is for sale? Over in Georgia, a sheriff has put these no trick-or-treat signs in the front yards of sex offenders who are now suing over their public shaming here. And down in Texas, there was this bizarre court decision. A jury, no less, decided to separate a 7-year-old boy from his biological father and place the child into the sole custody of his non-biological mother, who has already said she intends to forcibly transition the boy into a girl using puberty blockers and cross-sex hormone drugs. Now, this has caused a wave of outrage, which has led to higher authorities in Texas saying, we're going to look into this. This is a bad choice. It's a bad decision here. All right, there is a phenomenon starting to happen in the transgender movement, and the transgender advocates are trying to keep a lid on it. But a lot of people are detransitioning. And literally, they're saying, I was wrong to want to be a woman. Or in the other case, I was wrong to try and want to be a man. And they want to go back to their birth gender. And they want to go back to having the correct pronouns. So This article is about a lady named Jackie who came out to friends and family first, posted a note on Facebook, and unlike back in 2017 when this was the trend and everybody was coming out as potentially transgender or non-binary or genderqueer, I don't even know what that one is, but basically she came out as detrans. And it turns out this is a growing trend. There's an emerging population of people who've transitioned to a different gender, then later transitioned back. And this, of course, has ignited a contentious debate in and outside the trans community, with various sides accusing each other of bigotry and harassment, censorship, and damaging the fight for trans rights. Now, let's get a little bit clear on this. If an adult genuinely wants to transition, the technology is available and they are free to do so. Where the transgender movement, I think, fell off the rails was out there actively campaigning to convince kids this is what they should do. And maybe they're trying to justify what they did to themselves, or maybe they're having doubts and trying to stifle those. But it is a growing phenomenon. Transgenders are saying, I don't want to be this anymore. I want to go back to being what I was when I was born. Okay, up in Ohio, 2 counties have received $260 million in a settlement from the opioid lawsuit from 4 drug companies. And there is, of course, a lot of finger pointing as to who's to blame for the opioid crisis, which, by the way, now that we're getting out of Afghanistan, that's going to dry up. I'm sure the CIA is already looking for another source. The pharmaceutical companies are, well, they're into synthetics now, like fentanyl. So these recent drug company settlements are not going to undo the damage they've done. It'll help a little bit. But there are people who were prescribed these medicines, and now they're addicted, and they'll probably stay addicted for the rest of their lives. I imagine probably a lot of older people are going to say, why should I try and detox? I'm not going to be here that much longer. So NASA has made an announcement in their recently released solar activity forecast for next decade, saying that it's favorable for exploration. In other words, NASA's trying to make it sound like it's really good news. But what they're actually saying, when you look at the raw data, the next solar cycle will be the weakest in 200 years. So if you think the winters we've had recently were really bad, they're about to get worse. We're heading into a new little ice age. It's a new modern minimum. And Al Gore and his people are still out there saying, global warming, your plastic bottles are destroying our world. Anyway, over in Phoenix, Arizona, I'm only doing this story because we are so close to Halloween. But apparently the FBI uncovered a real-life Frankenstein operation. Human body parts were being stolen from deceased family members and used to create freakish monster humans. Somebody somewhere thought this was funny. So the so-called Biological Resource Center is being investigated for operating as an illicit black market human body parts dealer, which is kind of what Planned Parenthood has been doing. Now, plaintiffs in the lawsuit say that the BRC has been falsely advertising itself as a company that supposedly collects the remains of people's dead relatives and salvages them for medical purposes, then cremating whatever's left over and returning the ashes to the families. But in reality, BRC was harvesting body parts from corpses and selling them, which is illegal. And the FBI agents who were investigating this found buckets of heads and arms and legs and other unmentionable pieces of anatomy. and they found this one torso. The head had been removed and replaced with a different head sewn together. They've already got a pricing schedule, so they know these people have been doing this for a while here. And apparently back in 2013, which is where the pricing schedule is from, the going rate for a human head was $500. Arms went for around $750 each. And remember, these are dead parts. A whole body could fetch upwards of $5,000. A whole intact spine would also sell for nearly $1,000. Legs were $1,100 each, feet were $450 each, knees were $375 each, and a solid pelvis was $400. Now, apparently, the FBI first raided this facility all the way back in 2014, and somehow our corporate media missed the story. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do you do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And we're talking about this story out in Arizona where the biological research facility has been engaged in some pretty bizarre practices involving parts of dead bodies here. And The interesting thing is the FBI first raided this facility back in 2014. And you would have thought that the corporate media would have gone to town with a story like this. I don't know, maybe it was in the National Enquirer or something. I don't read that. But apparently the only reason the details about what was going on in that operation are going public now is 8 families have filed a civil suit against BRC owner Stephen Gore. So why is it that the corporate media missed this one? Did Stephen Gore have some political pull out there? Okay, another story here. This one from Colorado. And apparently there's a new report out detailing the sexual abuse of at least 166 children as young as 5 years old by 43 priests in Colorado over the past 70 years. One boy was branded evil before being subjected to ritualistic acts. Another boy was told, "This is what God wants." And it gets a little bit worse than that as well, because apparently an investigation has uncovered evidence that the Catholic Church has covered up the births of thousands of children fathered and abandoned by priests. And the cover-up was exposed after a woman was investigating her own father in the hope of rekindling a relationship with him, and then learned the father was actually a priest. She managed to track him down, only to discover she was one of thousands of other children who'd been swept under the carpet to protect the name of the priests of who had fathered them. You know, the Vatican has got to do something about this. And it's already costing them. There's the court costs. There's the fact that the collection plates are coming back a little bit light. Okay, we have some callers on the line here now. Peter in Los Angeles, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, you were mentioning why that wasn't followed up on, that Arizona body part story and all that. I want to harken back a little about that same time to New Jersey and New York, where there was a group of mayors. This involved mayors, rabbis, and Israeli government representatives who were organ trafficking. These are mayors, elected mayors, and rabbis. Nobody heard anything about that, and they caught them red-handed organ trafficking.
Yes.
So maybe these guys were caught up in the Epstein thing. We know they got the governor of Colorado, New Mexico. Maybe they got that governor too. Or who knows? Who knows what happened, why they're not covering this. But there's an ample precedent for not covering these guys, Mike, and that's a good one. This is mayors.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember that story. And a very prominent rabbi. Anyway, stay on the line. I'm going to put you on hold. Come right back to you after station identification.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We're talking with Peter in Los Angeles, who was responding to this story about this organ trafficking that basically got ignored by the corporate media. And he reminded us all of a similar story that happened in New Jersey, where there was organ trafficking taking place and involved apparently a couple of mayors. And that may be the giveaway right there. You know, this Gore, who owned this facility, does he have political connections? Is he like related to Al Gore?
Yeah. But Mike, just like we know that a lot of governors were involved in this Epstein thing, for instance. And
yes.
Why wouldn't you protect yourself with blackmail or bribes if you're doing something as heinous as that? But it disappears. Like Epstein is already disappearing, by the way. And Ghislaine Maxwell and all those people who should be arrested but aren't. And all the list of people that should be published but aren't. Yeah. And gone forever. Never to be brought to justice. But we're talking here on this New Jersey story. If you want to pull it up and look back, it involved mayors, it involved rabbis, prominent mayors, yes. Israeli government officials. It was run from Israel, and it completely disappeared. So, and you remember also, if you want to harken back even further, when Amdocs and Converse Infosystems, the two Israeli telecom companies that were bugging all our phones, when they were bugging all the DEA and FBI, bugging all their bugs, when the FBI or the DEA would bug a drug trafficker, the Israelis would find out about it from these two companies, Israeli companies, notify the drug trafficker, and all at once it would disappear. And and so, all that stuff, what can I tell you? But if it disappears like that, I always smell Israel, frankly, or political. But they're the same thing: political corruption in Israel. They overlap hugely.
Well, I think that's true of our country as well. But I think, it does smell like there was some kind of a political connection where the FBI was told, keep a lid on this. But now because of this civil suit, they can't anymore. And that, of course, is going to be embarrassing to the FBI that they didn't make more of a ruckus about this back in 2014. And the FBI does not like to be embarrassed.
Maybe they ought to do their job once in a while. What do you think, Mike?
Well, it all depends on what their job is supposed to be. It's certainly not what, we saw on TV and movies like the FBI story and everything. They're a cleanup squad. They're there to enforce the will of the government. And I learned that the hard way back during the Vincent Foster affair.
Enforce the will of the government, which is there to enforce the will of the upper tenth of 1% billionaires.
Yes.
But that's what the whole federal government is there to do, is enforce the will and carry out the will of the billionaires, the owners. But Mike, also back then with the DEA and all that, to lead this in, when we're tracking and bugging all these drug traffickers who then were notified by the Israeli intelligence that they were being on the Mossad is heavily involved in and has been in ecstasy trafficking.
Yes.
And has been for years. And then, by the way, the same people that were involved in 911, those Israeli art students, were bugging the DEA and showing up at DEA sites so they could more easily corrupt the DEA. That was another one of the things that they did. So,
well, to his credit, over at Fox News, Carl Cameron ran a 4-part series on Israeli spying in America because they had just uncovered so many of these Israeli spies. It was getting out on the internet. People were talking about it, so Fox News covered it, then promptly removed the story from their own website and contacted everybody who had copies of the videos, linked to their site and said, this is our copyrighted material, make it go away.
And Mike, Carl Cameron kind of went away. I don't know what happened to him, but he was a good reporter, obviously, and never to be heard from since, at least. So he was into the netherworld of people who questioned Israel. So it is what it is, man. But boy, I'll tell you what, the organ trafficking and body parts, how low is that? And you wonder how many Palestinians are showing up in those, you know what I mean? That the bodies cannot be reclaimed anymore. They're killed and they can't reclaim the bodies.
Palestinian authorities have been complaining about that for years, that even when the bodies are returned, they've obviously been harvested for organs.
Yeah, such a deal.
Such a deal.
They're not going to let a business like that go to waste. But, just wanted to bring that to light for people who had forgotten.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go, and we're going to switch over to Chris in Las Vegas. Aloha, Chris. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you so much, Michael. Let's stick with your organ trafficking story from Phoenix. And we can't overlook the strong connection to the John McCain Clinton gang more accurately, since they have no morals, ethics, or scruples whatsoever, except for money. And so that creates a real compromise in the government of Arizona. And I had the occasion several years ago to visit a facility over near Flagstaff called the W.R. Gore facility, who manufactured Gore-Tex grafts and Gore-Tex products, if you remember. And they had very, very good things. They had an animal research lab over there that was a secured, clean environment for testing animals and things like that. And so we would wonder if the same Gore facility, if it's related to possibly Al Gore. I never looked into that aspect of it or even considered it before your show today. But we also can take note that W.R. Gore, which has a large medical monopoly presence in Arizona, could have some powerful influence in suppressing a story of this type, especially if it was related to them within the news vehicles there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the question, I think the larger question is, how many of our politicians are linked to activities like this? And I've made the observation before that the drug trade has corrupted our government as badly as the alcohol trade did during Prohibition, where eventually everybody was compromised. And, but yeah, the fact that this, let's be honest, it's a spectacular story, and news media love spectacular story, and they sat on this one. So did the FBI.
Well,
yeah, somebody's political hand was there.
Well, when you look at the Ghislaine and the Epstein and others associated to that case, including the Clanton gang and the people up at the pizzeria place, it's not without suggesting very strongly that compromising everyone to co-opt them by inducing them to illicit sex relations with children or others that are improper, that can then be photographed, surveilled, put on video camera, done on Epstein's Island and other locations I'm sure they have around the planet, and used as a leverage to control politicians' votes one way or the other to suit their particular political agendas. So thank you so much, Michael. I'll let myself go. Carry on. Have a great show. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. And the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, We live in a country where companies are allowed to sell dangerous products, harmful products. As long as it makes money, and everything's okay here. So I'm looking at this article that came out of the Daily Mail, say that 3 times fast, talking about there are 26 chemicals used in plastic, soap, cosmetics, and cleaning products that disrupt hormones in the first 3 months of pregnancy. And they've discovered that children whose mothers had higher exposure to these chemicals had lower IQ scores at age 7. So they'll probably vote Democratic here. Okay. Apparently there's been a huge car bomb in northern Syria. Somebody wants that conflict to keep on going. Gee, I wonder who that might be. Okay, there we are. So we have family who is going to Chicago end of this week and made us a little nervous because of all the violence, gang violence, drugs, poverty. And of course, they're going to be staying in a nice hotel to attend a conference and everything, but still, it's a dangerous place here. When we lived on Oahu, we could essentially look out our window and see the problems. The failing light rail track, the homelessness, our car getting stolen twice in 1 year, and that situation. But I have to be very honest, sitting in this part of Indiana right now and looking around, there's almost this disbelief that this kind of evil exists in so many places across this country. And I really do think that a lot of it is simply being allowed to happen because somebody somewhere is being paid off. We were talking before about the riots taking place in Chile and Ecuador. And apparently Ecuador's president, Moreno, has literally moved his government from the capital in Quito to the coastal city of Guayaquil. And that may signal he's getting ready to leave. Anyway, we already talked about Hillary and the New York Times here. And apparently, it's here. All right. We were talking, we've got a caller on the line. Bob in New Jersey, aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Karen Silkwood, body parts.
Yes.
Karen was the one that was the whistleblower in Kerr McGee supplying the weapons-grade uranium to the Israelis.
Yep.
She was at a meeting with the New York Times, and she had told them she had the information. And, of course, she was found dead, and her car was empty of the information, and her body disappeared. Yep. When Danny Sheehan told me that when they got it back, her body parts were gone. So Danny kind of said, I wonder where they went. They never let them go.
Well, I think in that case, the idea was to prevent any kind of an analysis on Karen's body because one of the allegations she'd made was that she was being deliberately contaminated by radioactivity by Kerr McGee in an attempt to basically, give her cancer and silence her that way.
Yep. All right, so I had to say.
All right, well, thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go here. We were talking earlier about the transgenders and how many are now detransitioning. And one of the causes of the transgender movement is to say, look at the suicide rate. And it's due to the discrimination and the hatred and the harassment and all the rest of that. And there's this interesting article that says the transgender suicide rate isn't due to discrimination. And how you know that is you look at, for example, the black population. who everybody agrees they're discriminated against. They don't have a high suicide rate the way the transgenders do. And the issue may be that transgenders, I mean, they're starting out serious mental issues to begin with. And then they have to go through that whole transitioning situation. And I know I'm going to get nasty emails about that one, but I think the whole issue is crazy. Okay. Here's another one. Apparently, a former chauffeur to the Queen of England who admitted to sexually abusing a young boy in Buckingham Palace has died supposedly of natural causes before he could face charges. He was 81 years old. But again, what gets into somebody's head that they would do something like that? It's just, anyway, it's apparently at one point, Elizabeth Warren used her status as a Native American for the Texas State Bar. This is a document from 1984 that surfaced and once again shows that Warren was using this. I'm a Native American. I deserve special treatment. And she got it too, unfortunately. All righty. So let's see here. Apparently, next month, the Jewish magazine Moment will hold its DC Gala and Awards dinner honoring 4 distinguished journalists, including Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, who has candidly admitted that the pro-Israel AIPAC controls Congress and the White House. So this guy has actually come on out and said that, yes, Jews are in control of the federal government, and they're going to give him an award for that. Okay. I already talked about getting out of Iraq. Talked about spyware in Syria. Okay. And apparently General Electric is trying to deal with their debt by offering discounted pension buyouts. What that basically means is you've worked for General Electric, you've put in close to your 20, and you've paid into the pension fund, and they're saying, well, we're going to buy out your pension, and you're not going to get all your money back, but you'll get some. Apparently, California Congresswoman Katie Hill is in a certain degree of trouble. Apparently, she had a throuple affair, that means 3 people, with a campaign staffer and her ex-husband. And she's now apologized, and she vows to cooperate with the ethics panel. Okay, let's see. Rush Limbaugh came on out here with a statement saying there is a hidden level of support the media is not catching, the pollsters are not catching. That was true of 2016. I think it's going to be even more true in 2020. He's obviously talking about the fact that in 2016, all the corporate media polls were saying Hillary's got it. She's going to nail it. 90% of the vote. So anyway, let's see. But apparently Hillary Clinton, she sees Tulsi Gabbard as a threat. I think Tulsi is a threat. Certainly stood out during the last debate. By the way, Tim Ryan, we already talked about Tim Ryan. He's dropped out of the race now here. Another little problem with the Tesla Model S. They're being sued by the family of a man who suffocated and burned to death after he crashed his Model S, saying that the high-tech features trapped the victim in the vehicle. The first responders couldn't reach him because the retractable door handles failed to auto-present. He slammed into a tree and the lithium battery caught fire. All right. Oh, got another commercial break. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Michael in the control room is saying, why didn't they just smash the Tesla window? Good question. I mean, most first responders have utility knives, and most utility knives these days have a specific little punch tool to break a car window. So somebody messed up somebody there. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Dustin in New Jersey, welcome back to the show. What's on your mind?
I'd take the Porsche Taycan over to Tesla because Porsche is like a better company. If I had the money.
Well, yeah, if we had the money, we'd all be doing that here. And, I've seen the Tesla Model 1 up close. I haven't had a test drive or anything like that. But I agree, once they find a non-polluting source of electricity, the electric car is the wave of the future. And, I'm an old motorhead, but I think only place you'll see gasoline-powered engines are going to be on the racetracks.
Hi, Mike. What? You know how that bomb went off in Syria, and they say,
Yes.
"Oh, ISIS." They were saying like ISIS prisoners escaped. Remember when Erdogan went? There is no ISIS prisons. Those are ISIS training camps, encampments.
Yes.
And
Yes.
don't you find it odd how those ISIS people can just, wherever they're brought, if they're real prisons, they just manage to get to those explosives and set up their I mean, come on. I don't think so. You know, like if you think about it, you know, I don't see them housing these people. They showed footage of this prison. I saw like a communications camper and all this other stuff. It looked like a training camp more so. I don't know if you saw that black and white footage showing people on motorcycles and roaming around. Didn't look like no prison camp to me. So,
No, didn't to me either.
And you know, like, we all know who protects ISIS and arms ISIS.
Yes.
You know, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, United States, Britain, France. You know, but Mike, I wanted to move on if I can to talk about what do you take about Russia landing the two Tu-160 Blackjack, you know, aka Blackjacks in Africa, and then Putin, the Russians wiping away some of the debt of some of the. I mean, there's definitely just a change to this multipolar world we're continuing seeing, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's like and I don't think the U.S. can do anything about it now. Like, just we got a lot of problems, like the West, you know, and you know, including like the stock market and just there's a lot of. I mean, I don't know how this is going to end, but there's definitely a seat change going on, and you know, Africa is important because they have a lot of natural resources, and they have there's a lot of opportunity in Africa that's been exploited by like colonial powers for like a long time. You know, Britain, especially Britain, and
but it does remain the world's largest. Well, yeah, Africa remains the world's largest untapped resource area. I mean, as much as has already been extracted, mined, grown, there's a lot more there. And obviously, American corporations covet that material. But you're absolutely right. I mean, America is in decline. We can see it all the way around us when we read these stories about, you know, police and priests molesting children, and you realize our civilization has lost its it's lost its humanity, and it is very reminiscent of what Rome was going through before it fell apart. And I think that's going to happen here, and I think it's inevitable. And you know, Putin is proving that he's a global statesman, and you know, he stepped in to prevent war in Syria, and he's just done it again. So yeah, I think the United States desire to be a global hegemonic unipolar controller has pretty much failed. The project for the new American century has pretty much failed. I mean, what are they going to do about it? Well, they're going to point a lot of fingers. They're going to go on saying everybody's a Russian asset. They're going to blame Russia's interfering with what we're doing. And they're going to keep coming out with stupid statements like George W. Bush the other day, that it is only American interventionism that keeps the world at peace.
Yeah, coming from somebody who killed, what, almost 2 million people in Iraq from a lie? Him and Cheney and the rest, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Pearl, the gang. What's the other guy? Dov Zakheim? Wasn't he the comptroller of the Pentagon? All these scumbags, you know, like, so George Bush, the Bushes are the Clintons. They're like grifters, you know, they're like the Saudi family in Arabia, you know, like if you ever go back to watch Lawrence of Arabia, it was no Saudi, right? Back before then, there's no Saudi family. You know, they just came on in with the backing of what? Britain, right? And then the U.S. Yeah. Basically, that was it.
Yeah.
But Mike, before I get off the phone, I got to ask you something about
stay
like.
On the line. Stay on the
okay.
line. Just, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a commercial break. Stay on the line. I'll come right back to you.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting...
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're on the phones talking with Dustin in New Jersey, and you said you had one more thing you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this report. It's showing like worldwide auto sales is like down. Did you hear about that? It's like that means there's a like a global. We are in a global recession, and we'll be hit by it if we are not already hit by it. And there's one more thing. Oh, WeWork. WeWork is like a fraud, don't you think? Like how that Newman guy left with $1 billion and left everybody else holding the bag, no severance pay, right? And then do you know anything about WeWork and SoftBank? Like who owns SoftBank? Like, I mean, it's just some shady stuff going on, you know?
There's a lot of shady stuff going on right now, and it's another sign of the decline of our civilization that, you know, we have all of this stuff going on, and the government just doesn't seem all that interested in actually addressing any of these issues.
And Mike, have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Okay. Here's another example here. This is from up in New York, up in Erie County. And there was this cop whose job consisted of locking people up for engaging in prostitution and various other crimes. Wallace Wallachek, and a deputy with the Erie County Sheriff's Department, was arrested this month on his own prostitution-related charges. And apparently he was pimping out his own wife. Now, I understand that police departments are having a hard time finding good recruits. But this is, to me, this is unacceptable. This is absolutely unacceptable. Okay, Kathy Griffin is back in the news. She's kvetching about the fact that, well, ever since that stunt with the Trump head and some of the other things that she said during the 2016 election, nobody wants to hire her. But it's not her fault. It's older white guys that are at fault that she can't get work. So she's got a new film out, Kathy Griffin, a heck of a story. And she's playing for pity. She's playing for sympathy here. Okay, we mentioned this earlier before. The 7-year-old boy's gender transition case. Apparently, the Texas Attorney General's office and the Department of Family and Protective Services are now getting involved in the case. That was a bad court decision. I'm sorry. That judge is terrible. Getting on back to the destruction of the impeachment inquiry, Representative Z. Zeldin basically obliterated Schiff's star witness Bill Taylor, saying that he's basically got fourth-hand information. Earlier they said it was hearsay. Now we know how hearsay it really is. Apparently CNN decided to mock the Republicans going into the impeachment hearing as a bunch of white men. Oh, they're just white men. We don't have to pay attention to what they're saying. Okay. Apparently, Kamala Harris really put her foot in it, so to speak. She was on live TV screaming about how Rudy Giuliani has committed a whole bunch of crimes. And the interviewer said, okay, what are they? And she went, I don't know. So she got caught on that one as well here. Okay. Apparently over at Google, they're testing hiding domain names. And the end result of this is you'll only be able to find information through Google. Don't want you using another search engine. I think we already talked about how the Amazon Web Services got knocked offline. Okay. New study carried out by researchers from Lund University reviewed the social media accounts of well-known celebrities and wealthy philanthropists, many of whom relentlessly sing the virtues of climate change, and found out they're not changing their flying habits. They're still out there on their super yachts, still out there in the private planes. You know, climate change is for the little people to have to use. All right. China's economy is still in trouble. India is loading up on silver. And apparently India plans to launch the largest facial recognition system to target criminals as the country's murder rate drops to the lowest in decades. Well, good that the murder rate has gone down. And I still don't think the technology is really that accurate. I keep hearing all these stories about mistaken identities and everything. We were talking about detransitioning here, and apparently this whistleblower against the LGBT agenda. 60-year-old Peter Benjamin claims that he has suffered a lifetime of alcoholism and gender confusion because he was exposed to drag queens at a young age. This gets back to that issue of drag queen reading hours at the libraries, which are protected by the police. So somewhere inside our government, this has become an official policy. So more unrest around the globe: Hong Kong, Beirut, Jakarta, Santiago, Barcelona, Paris. Which city is next? Could be coming to a city near you. And again, all the way back when they first started talking about globalism and the New World Order, and they really started pushing it, the Open Borders agenda, and I said, this push to create a political climate for a one-world government could create a political climate leading to a global revolution, and it's starting to look like it's happening. All right, we're going to take a phone call from Cody in Southern Illinois. Aloha, Cody. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you. First-time caller here. And that 7-year-old transgendering there in Dallas is just insane. LifeSite News had a update on that. I guess they've had a reporter sitting in the courtroom there. And they said now that the dad will something about be able to make, I guess, dual judgments or something. But then it goes on to say that they are gagging the dad from talking about it. So it's really interesting. So potentially, they we can do some kind of form of child sacrifice in this country. How much different is it really than the old Baal worship of throwing kid into a fire, other than the fact that this is a little bit slower way of damaging somebody. Now the judge is saying that they can't talk about it. He can't have website up. It's just, I'm appalled at that, what I read today. So,
well, I think the judge is probably realizing from the reaction on the internet that this is not going over well. I mean, the father is the child's biological father. The mother is not biologically linked to the child. So why they would give the child to her in the first place is questionable. And second, she'd already announced that as soon as she got her hands on the kid, she was going to turn him into a girl. Now, to me, that's child abuse.
Well, they said 3 years old. And really, I mean, if in the old days you couldn't get a tattoo until you're 18, now you're going to say that some little kid can make. This is the most insane thing that this whole transgender stuff, and you were, I think, talking about it earlier. TuneIn was kind of acting up, and it kept replaying itself. But you mentioned they've got a high suicide rate. Most of them say, I think I've heard statistics like 50-some% or something say that they wish they never would have done it. The ones that are currently transitioned. So how people think that are so, like, how does 11 or 12 people on that jury were brainwashed? And I don't know what the jury instructions really were. If maybe there was some goofy way that they instructed the jury, but they still should have seen past what was going on. And we've got people that are less than 3% of the population that we're supposed to acquiesce to. Like, I mean, all the gay, queer, transgender stuff is like it's 20% of the population, and it's not. It's like there was an NIH study with 35,000 people they questioned, and I want to say it was like gay was 2.8, and then there was another maybe 0.5% bisexual. So depending on how you crunch the numbers, it was way under 4% of people that have that persuasion. But we've allowed them to manipulate our society. It's just unacceptable to me. And then, hey, I wanted to ask you, Michael. Since I'm kind of a new listener the last several months, what is the issue with Vince Foster? Why did you say you lost your retirement? I thought federal employees were pretty well protected on that.
No, I lost my career in Hollywood. I got blacklisted in Hollywood when I went public on the Vince Foster affair because the story that he committed suicide was preposterous. And all I did was, I had a website back then that supported my activities in visual effects and animation. And I just created this little subpage saying, this thing stinks. And I think the most important piece of evidence that I uncovered was this photo leaked by the White House to ABC television, supposedly showing Vince Foster's hand next to the gun he supposedly shot himself with. And I made a hard copy of that, and I took it to work with me. And at that time, I was working on a project in the same building as CNN's Hollywood division. And we all shared this little cafe out front. And I remember very clearly sitting there and talking to my coworkers and saying, there's something wrong with the story. Supposedly, this guy fired this gun into his mouth. There's not a speck of blood visible anywhere on the hand or sleeve or even the gun itself. And that would be impossible.
Wow.
With it. Yeah. And, that night, the harassing phone calls began. The next day, I was let go from this project that I was directing for this production company. And that was it. That was the end of my career in Hollywood.
So I thought you made a comment about losing retirement or something from NASA, but there was no issue with that, or
No, nothing like that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's about all I had in my mind. I'm just totally appalled at this. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world, but I'm just a whole appalled that we've got these people in our society that they're unfortunate, that they've got their damaged DNA. And they have these weird persuasions, and I wish society and people that are listening would look at it. Okay, I feel sorry for these people, but they're damaged. They've got some form of retardation in their genome, and to be letting these people dictate our society, people need to stop. We've got people like Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, and so you've got a huge percentage of the mainstream media that's got people with persuasion, but yet it's only less than 4% of the population. There's just something wrong with everybody acquiescing to all that. Anyway, that's about all I had. And thank you for taking my call.
This is runaway liberalism. And again, it's hard to understand what are they actually trying to accomplish. And certainly, keeping us all in a state of confusion over our gender is a way of attacking our identity. We don't know which restroom.
And getting people to have less kids or whatever. I don't know. It's somebody made the comment that when people have the more perverse people are, the more perverse they want to make it so that they seem more normal. I forget what they called that, but it was kind of like they just got to make it more perverse and more perverse so that they feel more normal. Maybe that's part of that psychology. And that mom that transgender kid, he's obviously got some kind of Munchausen by proxy type thing going on there with her.
Yeah, so, I would say so.
Anyway, what?
Well, the article didn't really make it clear. You got it. The article really didn't make it clear whether the mother was a biological or trans woman. Only that she is not the biological mother of the child in question. But yeah, you have to wonder, what were the instructions to the jury from that judge? And I think the judge understands that people are appalled at this decision, and that's why he's slapping everybody with these gag orders.
Yeah, I think it was a female judge, I think there. And Dallas was hit by big tornadoes after Friday night after the jury. Wasn't it Friday night there, so maybe God is putting his wrath on Dallas there. So anyway, thank you.
All right, we're going to let you go. Phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Apparently, Iraq is now going to the United Nations and asking them to kick the unauthorized U.S. forces out of their country. And Baghdad did not give their permission for U.S. forces to stay in Iraq. The original agreement signed by the puppet government of Baghdad in the U.S. has expired a long time ago. And so they're going to the UN here. 500,000 Californians are still without electricity. PG&E is basically saying we can't turn the power back on as long as the windstorms and fires are continuing. Over at Natural News, they've got an interesting little story. Big Pharma scam. Researchers use AI to detect symptoms of anxiety and depression And these algorithms will be used to push psychiatric drugs onto children to maximize their profits. Amazing. All righty. Yeah, PG&E to cut power in California. That actually started yesterday. Oh, how very third world. How very third world. All right. Let's see. Apparently, the CEO who made the Dick's Sporting Goods decision to ban firearm sales is reportedly exploring his own presidential run. Well, he's certainly not going to get the Republican vote. That's for sure. All right, we got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprem. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprem increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprem is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprem.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprem a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did. The towers in
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And apparently, get ready for drug costs to continue to go up as much as 667%. You think about that when now they want to use computers to analyze children for anxiety and stress so they can be prescribed more medications. I think we're taking too many medications as it is. I mean, if you're on a prescription medication, you should actually read the fact sheet on it. And it'll probably scare the heck out of you. All right, here we go. Apparently, Amazon profits are down. Blamed on dismal guidance here. Apparently, special education students are secretly being restrained and labeled as high-level threats. That's the new boogeyman here for the mass shootings. You know, it's not the prescription psychiatric medication. You know, these are just strange kids. These are just strange kids. Now, one good thing that came out of Mark Zuckerberg's hearing on Capitol Hill was that Senator Bill Posey from Florida basically grilled him about censoring information on vaccine safety. And that was a good thing for him to do. Because people have a right to know. And social media was never set up, you know, to be another gatekeeper for what we know. All right, we have a caller waiting on the line, Mo in Florida. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
How you doing?
Well,
Good.
hanging in
I
there.
hope you're. I know you are. You're always hanging in there. I won't keep you long. I've kind of just listened to your show. I haven't called in lately because I know you've been busy, and I like to tie the lines up, getting settled in your new place. And but I hope everything went well with Claire and the whole thing.
Yes, it did. We talked about that at the top of the show, and the story is very simple. She had cataract surgery on her left eye. The follow-up was yesterday. She's doing wonderfully well, and it's a thrill to hear the excitement and enthusiasm in her voice as she describes, you know, she's able to see again. And
I can say if everybody loved their wife as much as you do, it'd be a pretty good world, you know. But
I think
she's lucky
it would be.
Well, listen, Mike, I'll just get right to the point here. You know, I don't know if you saw I'm not a big fan of Joe Rogan, but because I think he's compromised. But you know, he's got a huge following.
Mo,
I watched him.
Mo, gotta put you on hold. Got to put you on hold.
All right, okay.
Going to take a station break. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org. and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We could use a few phone calls in here. And getting on back to looking at the news. That's right. Mo is still on hold. Mo, welcome. Please pick up where you left off.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me okay? I had a little trouble with hearing you, but yeah, am I good?
Well, yeah, you're good. I mute this mic when I step away from the desk.
Okay. Okay, Mike, Justin's always calling in and saying what just drives him nuts, and I agree with most of what Justin says. What really, really gets to me is this. I'm not trying to bring up the whole 9/11 discussion again, but I watched the Joe Rogan show the other night, and Edward Snowden was on, and
yes.
He's talking about Al Qaeda and the buildings, and I watched Tulsi Gabbard and Al Qaeda and the buildings and Trump and Al Qaeda. Yeah. How could they just want to ask one question? How did the Arabs? How did Al Qaeda plant the bombs weeks and months in advance? How did they do it? Who had access? Nobody asked that question. Isn't that just crazy?
Well, of course it's crazy, and of course it's crazy, and Snowden probably figures if he openly challenges the official 9/11 story that he won't get asked to be on more interviews. The same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. Nobody dares ask about the truth in American politics today. It's like the third rail, especially a cover-up as powerful as that around 9/11.
It's just such a simple thing, Mike. How did the Arabs plant the bombs months in advance, and how did they have access? That's all you got to ask, right?
Yep.
I don't know, Mike. It just absolutely. I couldn't even watch it. My big fear is somebody asked Ron Paul that, and I don't even, because he's the one guy that to me is like he's a straight shooter, and tells it like it is. But it's like the one thing you cannot mention. Who everybody knows the buildings were pre-wired to they were pre-wired to explode, to implode, whatever you want to call it, whether it's thermite, whatever. Everybody knows that that's what happened. Building 7. Everybody knows it. That even looks into it. Nobody asks a politician, or even Trump said it before he was elected, that
yes.
The bombs. Nobody says one. Nobody. I want to go to Tulsi's thing. Raise my hand. Yes, Miss Gabbard. Can you please tell me who planted the bomb? How did the Arabs plant the bombs? Months in advance? How did they have access? I mean, never. It's chilling, Mike. It really is chilling. It's the smoking gun of all smoking guns.
Well, in the case of 9/11, there's a lot of smoking guns, like, how the Secret Service knew that Bush was safe sitting in that Florida school. There's other smoking guns, like the way those airlines just sort of flew around the eastern half of the country for a while without being intercepted by a single Air Force fighter. And it just goes on and on and on. But, our government is enforcing the official story because it is the official story.
But it's so simple. The buildings were wired to explode. How did they have access to it? I mean, that's, to me, is so obvious. But anyways, Mike, it's just frustrating. It's scary that question's never asked. And Snowden's going to tell us that Al-Qaeda did it. Al-Qaeda, what? How did they have access to the building? I mean, it just absolutely is infuriating. But I just had to air that, Mike, and I know you're one of the people that says it like it is. So I appreciate it. I'll let you get back to your callers.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to let you go and switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Is that your new digs, what I see on there? On YouTube?
Yeah, and, I'm still working out of the dining room area because I haven't been able to get my office put together and get the computer going. But hopefully over this weekend, since it's going to be raining on Saturday anyway, I'm going to get some time to get in there. And yeah,
that's nice. I mean, it's probably about, are you renting or do you buy it?
No, we're renting. We're not in a position to buy.
Anyway, it's probably twice the house you had, the place you had in Hawaii, if I had to guess,
It pretty much is twice the floor space, not as much wall space. We're having trouble finding places to hang things up here. Best of all is it's a single story, and Claire, because of her eye issues, had a problem with the stairs in the old place. Plus, we're paying about half the rent here that we paid back on Oahu.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Claire's doing good too.
Yeah, she's doing so much better.
You know the guy on Crosstalk, Peter Lavelle?
Yes.
He had both his eyes. He had and because he talked about it one time, he had an interview. He was talking to Lionel, YouTuber Lionel, and he described, he wasn't seeing too good, so he figured he just needed new prescriptions. They had cataracts in both eyes. They did it within a couple of days. And they charged him about $15 for medication he would need for the next week or so, to heal the pain. That was it. Just like that.
Well,
so everybody talks about how horrible much it is. That's all it was.
Claire had her left eye done on Tuesday. They're going to delay the right eye operation for a little while just to make sure everything's going okay. Yeah, she's doing so much better, and she's just so excited about how she can see right now.
Good. Glad to hear that. Anyway, as far as everything that's going on with this country, I was watching this guy, Radical Independent. I don't know if you know who he is. Dave Surrier, I think is his name. He's kind of like, he's not really well known. I got my own YouTube channel, by the way. I don't know if you know that. I just started it.
No,
recently,
I didn't.
But anyway, and he's always getting depressed about Tulsi Gabbard, the big Gabbard supporter. As a matter of fact, he started a whole YouTube thing over supporting Tulsi Gabbard, and now he's of the fact that Joe Biden is up to 34% nationwide. But people don't understand. Those polls are rigged. Biden isn't at 34%. Well, he might be with the people they're calling mostly people on landline phones. Okay, mostly baby boomers who don't know what's going. Not all baby boomers. You and me are baby boomers. We know what's going on, but most of them don't.
Yep.
Most of them get their news from the mainstream media or the corporate media, and from the corporate press or the corporate toilet paper, as I should call them. And they say, and that's how they get their news. So, sure, what do you expect from them? And those are the people they're polling. These things are completely rigged. I mean,
well, again, look back at 2016. Look back at 2016. All the corporate media polls were saying Hillary's got it. She's going to get 90% of the vote. She's headed for the White House. And then, of course, Trump won and just annoyed everybody. in the system,
Of course.
which is why they're still trying. And now this whole impeachment thing is falling apart. So they're back to talking about somehow invoking the 25th Amendment.
You know, I tell you another thing, Mike. You know, I told you I started my own channel. I'm already getting a lot of feedback. I'm getting a lot of hostility, actually, from both sides. One side practically calls me a communist. It's the what do you call it, MAGA people. The other side calls me a right-wing fascist. And the thing is this: what they can't stand, none of them can stand, is when I support Assad and Putin. When I call Bashar al-Assad the Abe Lincoln of today, the modern-day Abe Lincoln, and I call Putin the greatest statesman in the world today, which is almost no question that he is. Oh, do I get hostility over that? Boy, whoop. You know what I'm doing, too. To try to get,
do remember that much of that hostility are by paid operatives and software. That it doesn't really represent a grassroots response. And it's one of the reasons why I don't bother with social media anymore, because it is being hijacked and taken over with technology.
That's true. That's true. But what else can you do? I mean, there's no other ways of getting the word out. We can't go by, we can't, you're not going to get anything out of the corporate media. All you're going to get is a bunch of lies. That's all they're going to give you.
Yes.
Yep. But that's not the, you can work your way around on YouTube and other Facebook. I can't do it on Twitter anymore because they kicked me off. But that's why I started my YouTube channel, so I could at least try to share information, But
yes.
You can get it around, but what you have to do is you have to understand with their algorithm, they'll try to pour mainstream media on you. So what I do, from like what they would recommend, I just ignore it. I know what I'm looking for. On top of that, I have to every once in a while go search again for the people I'm looking, and I find out I'm still subscribed to them, but yet it won't pop up on my screen. So I have to look for it instead. I have to search. You have to know how to work these things. You can still get the information out, but a lot of people just don't understand that, And now they're flooding corporate media in there now. Like I said, I ignore it. Other than something comes from Tucker Carlson, it's the only one I'll bother with. Tucker Carlson, to me, is really he's really independent media. I mean, I'm surprised he's still on Fox. I think it's only a matter of time till they fire him.
I would agree, but he's probably got a pretty much an ironclad contract, and a good lawyer who says if you violate the contract, all Tucker has to do is not do anything that would justify his firing. Now, unfortunately, because of that Fox News synthetic bovine growth hormone lawsuit, the reality is that Tucker Carlson's bosses have a recognized legal right to order him to put out false news, and he can be terminated for refusing. That's what happened to these two other Fox reporters who were doing the Monsanto article. So it's a tough position to be in.
Well, if they do, he'll be probably joining Rick Sanchez on RT. Rick Sanchez and a couple other people that got there on RT. Rick Sanchez is a far better reporter now than he ever was on when he was on CNN on the what do you call it, the crap news network? That's what I call it. He's far better. I mean, he is a fantastic reporter, really. And Ed Schultz. Yeah. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. The late Ed Schultz, when he was at RT, he was head and shoulders above anything he had ever been for MSNBC or even when he had a talk radio show. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, because these guys have principles, so they can't stay in those corporate stations, and they wind up in RT. RT, it's amazing. Not that many years ago, we used to think of Russia as like Pravda and Izvestia and propaganda news, nothing. Now it's reversed. Now you get real news out of Russian networks like RT and Sputnik, and you get corporate corporate propaganda out of our own stations. It's incredible, isn't it, Mike?
Yes,
it
is. It really is.
How to worm his turn. All right,
one of the all right.
What?
I'm
I
saying,
was
what
going to
was
say,
the thing?
one of the reasons, pardon me, I like working at RBN. They have never once in all these years come on in and said, you cannot do this story, or we need you to do this story a certain way. The hosts here on RBN do have complete freedom to report the news as they see it. And it's probably the big reason why I like RBN so much.
Well, your commercials are basically small-time commercials. I mean, you're not real big corporations. You know what I mean?
No, we're not.
Thing from what's the extent of the and it's another thing about the AR-15 something or another, and a couple other things.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much your commercials. So we're not talking about the big pharma, big agra, and all the other garbage they put on, or the military-industrial complex type stuff that they put on the main news, or insurance companies, or whatever else that they put in a corporate media, including, by the way, corporate talk shows like Hannity, Limbo, Levin, Speck, people like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why. All right, Mike, let you go, buddy. All right? I'm glad to see everything's okay. And I'm glad to see you.
Well, we're
You're
getting
pretty
there.
comfortable there in Indiana, you know?
Well,
Indiana's
we're
a great state, you know?
yeah, it is. And it's, like I said earlier in the show, I mean, just looking out these windows here and all the people who live around us and everything, and it just makes what we're seeing happen in so much of the rest of the country just that much more unbelievable. You know, you look out here and you see, I haven't met a nasty person since moving here. Everybody's friendly. They say hello. There's more aloha here in Indiana than there was in Hawaii when we left it. And you go through that experience and just say, why can't the rest of the country be like these people? These are good people. And so I'm, go ahead.
I'm saying these are the states Tulsi Gabbard really got to concentrate on if she's got a chance of winning, you know? And she's doing a good job in Iowa right now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So, these, like I said, the Midwest, the South, these are the places. She's very popular in South Carolina. I noticed when I drive to Charlotte quite a bit, and I go through South Carolina.
Yeah.
And you see billboards all over the place for her, along the freeways and all that. So she seems to be very popular down there. So that's if she's going to win, that's what she has to do. The Midwest and the South. Not going to get California and all.
It's going to be a tough sell here in Indiana because this is definitely gun country.
Well, she's not as anti-gun. I'm talking about at least for the Democratic nomination. She's not as anti-gun as the others. She barely talks about it, and being that she's in the national, well, she's not in the National Guard. She's been with the regular Army. She knows the thinking of other people around the country, and she pays attention to that. She knows, you know, most of her troops come from Middle America. Most of the soldiers, the rank and file type soldiers, come from Middle America. So I don't believe she's anywhere as anti-gun as people might think she is. She's probably the most pro-gun of the bunch. Maybe Bernie is a little somewhat, because Vermont, believe it or not, as liberal as Vermont is, they got some of the best gun laws in the United States. Complete constitutional carry, you know? And they've had it for years. They've had it as far as I remember. So anyway, Mike, I'll let you go, buddy. Okay, and I'm glad to see you doing good. All right?
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Okay, story out of Investment Watch blog, and it sort of touches on what we've been talking about with these last few callers, saying it is the American mainstream media's job to sow chaos, hate, and division across ordinary Americans, because that's what keeps the corporate elites and the top 1% in power. It's all about manipulating you so that you'll look at the world around you and say, well, it may not be perfect, but this has got to be the way, you know, we just go on this way here. All right, Donald Trump has announced he's going to lift the sanctions placed on Turkey, and he's still out there trying to claim all the credit for the border de-escalation. That, I think, was a bad move on his part. The sanctions part, yes, is good. But trying to take credit when everybody knows it was Putin, that's going to come back to haunt him. It's going to make it look like Trump is envious of Putin, that he's afraid of Putin. And somebody needs to tap Donald Trump on the shoulder and say, look, this is not a reality TV show. This is real life. Okay. And you're mucking up the job here. Just taken on the job that the U.S. failed at in Syria. The Kurds are saved, the Turks are appeased, and now the U.S. is trying to send their soldiers back on over to Iraq, and Iraq is saying no. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And apparently Crowder is out there saying there is likely a huge Google YouTube conspiracy against Tulsi Gabbard and other inconvenient figures. Now, let's be honest, it's a weak Democratic field. Nobody's really standing out. They keep claiming that Joe Biden is running neck and neck with Elizabeth Warren or Pocahontas, and everybody else trails behind. But we know those polls are untrustworthy. We know that they basically, the polling companies have lists of people who can be counted on to give the desired answers. But I think Hillary, if she is thinking about running next year, and my gut is telling me she is, she's definitely going to see Tulsi as a threat. Tulsi's young, she's attractive, she's anti-war, and I think that's what's going on there. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Dan in Washington State. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. I've been listening to the show for a few years, and I really like it. I just get discouraged sometimes because I disagree with you on tariffs, and Dustin calls in, and everyone says how great Dustin is, and it's like you guys complain about society going to crap, but then you say free trade is a good thing, you know, and there's no historical or factual evidence to back up what you're saying that free trade is good, because historically America had tariffs, and that's what produced our economy to begin with.
Well,
you know,
tariffs were originally imposed at the founding of this nation as the way for the government to fund itself. Remember, in the original Constitution, a direct non-apportioned tax was, banned, illegal. So the U.S. government imposed tariffs on various imported products in order to fund itself. The problem is that Trump is now weaponizing the tariffs and the sanctions. And a big part of the problem is that over the last 30 years, the United States has lost or simply given away its manufacturing supremacy. And now it's trying to maintain commerce around the globe through threat of military force. And that's why so many countries around the world.
I agree with you there, but if I did a research on the average tariff rate was about 20% until World War II. And then it starts going down, and then at 1990, it goes to zero. So that's why the manufacturing base went away. And other things like you're saying, I mean, the tax incentives and things like that. But, I mean, once you got rid of all the tariffs, that's what made the manufacturing go away. So, I mean, it's just a simple problem to fix. But I agree that weaponizing them, they should have put like a 5% tariff in 1990 and started slow and across the board if they wanted to not lose all of our manufacturing. But
well, our manufacturing went into a decline back in the 80s, and a lot of people commented on that. And instead of addressing the problem and say, let's find ways to revive our manufacturing base, the U.S. government announced the service economy. This idea that we could all prosper ourselves by doing each other's laundry for a fee. And of course, it opened up new taxation opportunities for the government, but it didn't solve the problem. And now we're hopelessly behind a lot of other countries in key critical manufacturing areas.
Yeah, totally. And we have to change it now. Was Reagan because Reagan kind of coined the term the Rust Belt, and everyone says what a great guy Reagan was, but wasn't he horrible on that issue? I mean, as far as...
Well, Reagan didn't create the Rust Belt. It was created before he became president. And we'd have to go back and, do a little more research on exactly what Reagan's policies were. He did sign this huge tax cut for the American people, which did get the economy kind of kicked back into high gear. I mean, the result of the Rust Belt, I mean, I have sort of a hug and a punch relationship with Michael Moore. Sometimes I can't stand his liberalism, but that first documentary he put out, Roger and Me, really told the story of what happened in Flint, Michigan to the auto manufacturers.
Right. And I think a lot of that, well, you had a lot of goods coming in from Japan, I get, in the 80s. But again, that probably had to deal with tariffs because they were starting to get so low where the Japanese could focus a lot more on quality and do it a lot better job than, the American manufacturers can't compete at a lower wage level, So I just want to call. I like the show and that. I would encourage everyone to just go on Wikipedia and look at the average tariff rate in the U.S. from 1776, and then 1990 it goes to zero, and then there you go.
Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this because we're coming up on another commercial break. So thank you very much for the phone call, Dan. We're going to let you go. And I think the issues of what happened to our manufacturing are a little more complex than simply the tariffs issue. A lot of it had to do with corporate CEOs who had grown up in post-World War II America. We'll talk about that when we come back from these commercials.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And speaking of Michael Moore, he came out with a comment the other day that white supporters of President Trump are like the whites in South Africa during apartheid. Bit of a reach, Michael. Really a bit of a reach. So, anyway. Seems like the government isn't too fond of media who don't support their agenda. Well, you know, surprise, surprise, surprise. Gomer Pyle would say, surprise, surprise, surprise. Somebody posted a video, or actually a Facebook page with a video, Tulsi Gabbard on 9/11, and yeah, she's telling the official story. All right, so getting on back out here. Hang on a second, I went to the wrong place. Just let me do this real quick. In a very exhausting week, what can I tell you? All right, apparently down in Florida, under the red flag laws, they have confiscated thousands of guns from 2,654 people. All of this is Second Amendment violation, of course, but clearly the government no longer supports the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It's a very, very dangerous situation. By the way, this weekend, of course, is Halloween, and apparently New England is about to get hit with yet another major snowstorm. Gosh darn that human-caused global warming. That's all I can really say here. That global warming. Ron Paul is out there asking, is Trump really going to take Syria's oil? Well, I think at this point it's obvious he's going to try to control Syria's oil. I don't know what Assad is going to do about it. He's going to have to do something. He needs the revenue to rebuild Syria from all the bombings and everything. Okay. Everyone's still talking about how Erdogan and Putin reached this historic deal on northern Syria, and Trump is still trying to take credit. The idea again here, it's our idea. We're doing all these things here. We already talked about California's hit with more rolling blackouts. Over 1 million may be affected. And all I can say to that is how very third world. One of the problems that this country faces is not just the decline in manufacturing, it's the decline in everything. Everything has been allowed to basically decay, degrade, corrode, rust, because all of the money is being poured either into the wars or into these liberal fantasy projects like the illegal immigrants. I mean, we've gone crazy as a country here. All right, Israel is out there screaming that Iran is about to attack them, and the IDF is allegedly preparing for this Iranian attack. And I'm going to call bovine excrement on this one, because why would Iran do something like that? It's the same question that I asked back when they were screaming that Assad was gassing his own people. I'm saying, why would they do that? Why would they do the one thing that the U.S. needs in order for them in order to invade? And the same thing with Iran. Iran is not going to attack Israel. There may be a false flag attack they're going to try and use to sell us another war. But I think it's time for the American people to just stand up and shout, this is just so much BS. That wonderful scene from Network, where the guy's out there screaming, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. Because you should be mad. Alrighty, let's see. Over at the Housing and Urban Development, Secretary Ben Carson is saying political correctness is going to destroy the United States. Now, I didn't agree with a lot of what he said back in 2016, but he's hit the nail on the head. Political correctness is destroying the fabric of our culture. It's trying to trick us into self-censorship, and the more politically correct people become, the more bizarre the liberals become, like with all this, bathroom and transgender stuff. What are they going to come up with next? Bestiality? It's just another preference. So, anyway. We have a caller on the line. Dustin called back in, and I can almost imagine why. Dustin, what's on your mind?
Mike, I hope that listener calls in a lot more because we need more callers calling in.
Yes.
But I got to disagree with him. This is not 1776, and it's not World War II in the 1940s. It's 2019. It's a different world now. We've got multiple economies around the world. They all have their own interests now, and we are not the economic powerhouse we once were, and we'll never get that back because once it left, it ain't ever coming back because there's just too many players out there in the rest of the world with their own supply chains now. We don't have any. That's just the fact. You can't fix that once it's broken. I go back to Rome, Mike, like you said. With Rome, if it could have been fixed, it would have. It wasn't. It went down. It's the same with this. Look at what's going on in Washington D.C. There's so much faction fighting. Nothing's getting done.
No.
The average taxpayer is never going to get a tax cut like the bankers did. That ain't coming. That ain't happening. There ain't no wall ever going to be. I don't still see nothing happening. Where's the infrastructure bill we were promised? Time after time. Where's QAnon? I want to know where QAnon is. Where'd he go? Or she? I mean, I'm sorry, but that listener is really, to say the tariffs are going to, they're easy to, nothing's easy, man. If it was easy, it would have been done. It's not because China's got a lot of other partners they can go to, and they got the supply chain is in Asia, and that's a fact.
Yes.
That's all I got to say, Mike. Have a good night again.
All right, thanks. And of course, China's building the Belt and Road Project, which is going to speed commerce with Europe, and the U.S. doesn't have a way of actually really competing with that. Now, I mentioned this earlier in the show. One of the problems with our manufacturing has nothing to do with tariffs, and it has to do with the history following World War II, where we'd won the big one. And it was a golden time for American manufacturing because we were pretty much the only industrialized nation on Earth whose industrial base hadn't been bombed into rubble. So there was factories were being built, products are being made, good products are being made, and the people who actually knew how to make these good products were too valuable to promote. They actually called them gold collar workers. And so there was a shortage of managers. So as a result, Harvard Business School came up with a program of scientific business management, which was a series of standard ways of running a business that could, in theory, be applied to auto manufacturers, donut-making bakeries, and so forth and so on. Didn't always fit perfectly. And then they created a degree program to go with it called the Masters in Business Administration, or the MBA, which you still see touted on TV as, you need an MBA to move ahead in this world. So what happened is the corporate offices of all these manufacturing corporations got loaded up with a bunch of young Harvard graduates who had not grown up with the products being manufactured. They had no respect for the process of manufacturing. The people on the floor, they liked making good products. It made them feel good. It wasn't just about the paycheck. But we grew up with a generation of management that said, I really don't want to get my hands dirty. Let's just send the manufacturing over to Asia someplace. And they would send the manufacturing over there. They would send the technology behind the manufacturing, just practically give it away. Those countries aren't going to let it come back here. They're not that dumb. That's a big part of what happened to American manufacturing. It was literally given away by a generation of corporate executives who just didn't want to be bothered. Okay, we've got another caller on the line, Steve in West Virginia. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I got a couple things for you. One of the things you just mentioned is it was given away, and Trump and some of these other politicians keep on saying that they took it from us. They never took it from us. It was given away, and people need to realize that. And the other thing I want to point out that Mark from North Carolina mentioned is that if you look like at the Tulsi Clinton thing and when it happened, and you look at the Twitter feed and look at all the comments most of the comments that are in support of Hillary are all from women. They're all, I mean, it was like I must have read 200 or 300 comments, and I would say it's about 90% were all coming from women. And the same thing with what Mark said about the baby boomers. Whenever I encounter, somebody that wants to go fight with the Russians and stuff, it's always an older baby boomer, not the baby boomers that that ended the Vietnam War, but the older ones that are still alive. They're the ones, to me, that want to fight with the Russians, and they're real super, controlled and programmed, back to the Cold War days. It's not I don't meet any younger people or any people in their 40s, 30s that want to go fight with the Russians. It's always these older people that are in their 60s and 70s.
Well, yeah, because they know they're not going to have to. Yeah, they know they're not going to have to do the actual fighting. That's what the young people are for. And we'll send them off to Russia, and ignoring the fact that we are now dealing with a nuclear power. Both the U.S. and Russia have nuclear weapons, and at some point, if we get into a real mix-up with Russia, the side that starts losing the conventional war is going to be strongly tempted to turn those little brass keys.
Mike, but I got a question for you. Do you think if these millennials were told to go and fight, do you think they would actually do it? I don't think they would. I think there'd be a vast mutiny.
I think it would probably be a repeat of what we saw during the Vietnam War, when young people, and of course they were all being cowards, and you just don't want to fight, and they're saying, no, we just don't understand what we're doing there. Why we have to be all the way on the other side of the planet.
That draft dodger stuff, that ain't going to work again. If we're told to go fight the Russians and people leave, or they say we're not going to go, there's not going to be any of this, oh, you're a draft dodger, because anybody in their right mind would just say, no, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. I'm just not going to go. You can put me in jail. You can do whatever. You can take my money, but I'm not going over to fight the Russians.
Yes.
Anyways,
I'm in agreement.
that's it.
A lot of people are probably going to declare themselves to be conscientious objectors, and the government, will probably use them for medical experiments or something like that. Okay, Steve, thanks for the call. We're going to let you go. And Mark in North Carolina called back in to respond to Dustin, who responded to Mark before. And a reminder that one of the rules of the show is one call per caller per day. But Mark, we're going to let you go ahead. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to comment to what this gentleman said. He's right, except I have to mention most of those women, a lot of times I'll look at their profile, and a lot of these women that do respond in Hillary's favor are mostly also older women, mostly, baby boomer type. And one other thing, too, as far as the baby boomers go, understand this. Most of your neocons, these warmongers, okay, were themselves, are baby boomers, and they were draft dodgers during the Vietnam War. They either went to school or they did something else. Romney, for instance, went on one of his expeditions to France, I think, Mormon, to try to recruit more Mormons. But I don't know. The other guy, what's his name? Crystal went to school. Of course, Bill Bennett went to school. All these people went to school. So that's what they were about. They were all draft dodgers. The Vietnam vets, the actual people who either went to Vietnam or at least served in the military at that time, are mostly against these wars. Okay? They're not like that at all. The worst type of the boomer types are the neocons today. The neocons, what I call Trotskyites, which they really are. Neocons, neolibs, were basically draft dodgers. And that's pretty much all I wanted to answer. Okay?
Well, it's easy to. Thanks an awful lot. It's easy to advocate for a war when you're not the one paying for it and risking life and limb for it. And it's true that politically connected individuals found ways to basically avoid the service. They got into like the Air National Guard or something like that, and spent all that time, just zooming around the sky in airplanes and having a great deal of fun. But war with Russia is a bad idea because of that potential for it to go nuclear, which is something that we need to be really talking about. So I think the reason we have not had a draft yet is because the government is afraid of what the public reaction would be to it. And as I said, I think it was earlier in today's show, the government is looking at all this civil unrest taking place in all these countries around the world and realizing it could start here as well, which explains why they're so desperate to grab all the guns. And I don't want to see it happen, but we are being placed under so much pressure, economic, political, social, political correctness. You know, you can drive people crazy by pushing on them too much. And that's exactly what's been happening in our society. So anyway, let's see. China plans to replace embattled Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam after the city has been rocked by nearly 5 months of anti-government protests. All right, we're going to take our last commercial break of the day. Be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
We will not go down You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of the program today here. Feminist author Naomi Wolf has a new book out. Well, that's good for Naomi. But in it, she makes the claim that during the Victorian era in England, men and boys were executed for being gay. Well, actually, that never happened. It's historically inaccurate. And I guess the truth has become such a valuable commodity that feminist authors feel it should be economized. So her book just got pulled from all the store shelves. All right, back to the phones here. Brian in Ohio. Aloha, Brian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Ryan, but that's okay.
Okay.
I had to make just a statistic thing, and I'll let you go with that. It's Schwinn Bicycle. Used to build their bikes here in Ohio. $15 an hour, the average worker made. I think it was 1998. Schwinn packed up and moved to Mexico. They averaged $3 an hour. I think it was in 2000. China was allowed in the World Trade Organization. Schwinn packed up from Mexico and went to China. And it wasn't because they're top guys up the front, the guys that tell everybody what to do, what you said, because they didn't want to put up with it anymore. They moved to China because they pay less than $3 an hour to build a Schwinn bike there now. Now here's the other thing. The average manufacturer makes less than 10% in China than a U.S. Manufacturer makes. So that's $27 an hour to $2.70 an hour. Then, if you have a 20% import tax, a $20,000 car imported from China now will cost $24,000. So with no import tax, and only getting paid $2.70 an hour, say it's just they didn't feel like whatever, I don't know what to say, but I have to disagree with you and your regular caller. That guy that called in was spot on because I've been knowing this forever, and especially when Schwinn went from the U.S. to Mexico, then to China. It's about the money. It's not because they didn't want to deal with something. It's all about the money. And with Trump putting that import tax on, they should never took it off. That our government's supposed to be run on import taxes. And to do 0%, well, heck, if I had a big company, I'd move to China tomorrow with no import tax at $2.70 an hour average. With all that, I got to say goodbye. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. And let's see, finishing up here. NASA has released new guidelines for how to keep other planets from being contaminated by human microbes. Now, they're a little bit late with Mars, obviously, when they declared that Viking had not found indigenous Martian life. That was the last Mars probe that was sterilized. Viking landers were sterilized in their aeroshells, like a giant autoclave, and they had been built from materials that could survive the autoclaving. Liquid lubricants that could serve as a biological growth medium were banned, with the exception of the pitching mirrors in the cameras. They couldn't find a solid lubricant that would work for that here. But ever since then, everything we've sent to Mars, not been scrubbed, not been sterilized. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Please stay tuned to John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And please put out the word of RBN, whatreallyhappened.com. Please support us, and we'll be back tomorrow. Oh, apparently Jim Fetzer's coming on with John, so that should be kind of interesting. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Aloha, America.